Hello, this is Sarah from Crafty Creatures, and today we'll be making the silver and gold painting. So we will need our canvas panel, our paint brushes, our paints, mostly just our black paint, and our gold and silver paint. We will also need a pencil and eraser, and something to wash our brushes in. Now that we have all of our supplies, let's get started. So first things first, we need to paint our entire canvas in with black paint. So the best way to do this is to use your big paintbrush and paint nice and smooth. That way you don't have any big globs of paint because they'll take longer to dry. And that way you can make the most of your black paint. So you want to cover the whole thing top to bottom and make sure it doesn't go on too patchy. You want it to be nice and dark. You may need to do a second coat. So what you should do is you should leave it to dry for a little bit and then check on it once it's had some time to dry. And if you see a lot of white coming through or some spots that look lighter than others, that's when you should give it another coat of paint. So once you finish adding the black, we need to let this paint dry completely before doing the next step. So once it's dry, it's time to get started on our drawing. So the best thing to use is a pencil because you can erase it. And if you want to do any circular ornaments, find something you can use to trace. That could be a plate, a cup, a bowl, even a circle tracer like I have here. That way you can make really nice round shapes. That's only if you want to use really round ornaments. There's all sorts of different ornament shapes out there. So as you're drawing, you want to draw fairly light. I'm drawing a little bit darker just so you guys at home can see it a bit better. And as you're drawing, start to think about what color are you going to use where. Start to think about what patterns are you going to use. You know, how much space are you going to leave? Because we want to leave a little bit of black space in between our shapes. It just helps to make it look a lot more cool. Because then we'll get a really neat effect of the metallic paint. So I'm adding a diamond shape ornament here, kind of like my little mini sample at the top. And then I have my nice round one in the middle, and then a kind of round icicle shape ornament hanging down. Now we want to add the little cap where that holds the hanger for the ornament, and that'll just be at the top. So you might also want to mark it with your pencil where you're going to put your metallic shapes. You can also make a little tick mark inside, that way you know that you're painting that part in. Because sometimes if you have a lot of little shapes like I do, it can be a little confusing where you're putting what paint. So now that we're done our drawing, it's time to start painting. So you're going to want to paint your metallic paint fairly thick, and I would work from either left to right if you're right-handed, or right to left if you're left-handed. That way you're not laying your hand or wrist on your wet paint because you don't really want to smudge it. We want to get the most effect from this black and metallic paint, so we want to paint nice and clean. Going to be doing a lot of it with our small brush. You know, if you have spots that you can fit your bigger brushes, definitely use them. But if you want to get nice crisp edges, you're going to want to stick to that small brush as much as you can. Now the silver will go on a lot thicker. The silver generally doesn't need a second coat, but our gold paint is a little bit thinner, so you might need a second coat of that. So what you do is you get all your painting done first and you leave it to dry for a little bit, and then you'll be able to see whether or not you need the second coat. So make sure as you're painting that in your design you're leaving a little bit of black space or a lot of black space depending on the design of your ornament. With my stripes here, I'm having a little bit of a black gap in between them, you know, that where my canvas is showing through. It just helps to define your design a little bit more, and it helps keep that really cool effect you're going for. You don't need to do things like outlines with this. You just want to do your shapes with your metallic paint. Now you don't have to do stripes like I'm doing or my wavy lines. You can do spots, you can do different designs. You can even look at some of your real ornaments around your house for some inspiration. There's a lot of cool things we could do with this kind of painting. So once we have all of our metallic paint down, we want to use our white paint to make some nice thin lines for our hangers or strings. If you want them to be really straight, you could also use a white pencil crayon, but I find the wet paint is going to make the most bright effect. Pencil crayon, it would be a little bit patchy. And we also want to add some little highlights on some of our ornaments with the white paint, but keep them all to one side as if there's a light coming from just one side of the painting. You can also use the white paint as part of your design if you want to add maybe some white polka dots or stripes, or even use white as part of the ornament. You could totally do that. It would look really, really cool. We can also do some fun things, like on one of mine I added polka dots of the opposite metallic paint on my icicle ornament just for some fun. The easiest way to do really round dots is just to dip the wrong end of your paintbrush in your paint, because then you can get these really nice little round dots, and they're really easy to do. If you want to add things like this, you're definitely going to want to let that paint dry for a little while before you put another layer on. That way you don't get wet paint on wet paint and it kind of smears a bit. Now if you've had spots where you've gone over the edge, what you can do is once it dries, you can go over it with some fresh black paint and just tidy up the edges. And that's it for this painting. Good job, everybody, and I'll see you next time with a new painting. Bye-bye.